My mother-in-law surprised me by saying that she and my husband are moving out, leaving me to take care of my father-in-law forever. It shocked me. It basically means she's supporting my husband, who's having an affair. They plan to live with his mistress, where my father-in-law, who needs care, also lives. Despite this, they're ignoring his needs. I'm angry at their actions, but I can't just leave my father-in-law alone. Then, unexpectedly, my father-in-law stands up, breaking his wheelchair-bound state. Let me introduce myself. I'm Linda, almost 30 years old, married to Tom for 3 years. We used to enjoy each other's company, but lately things have felt dull. Maybe it's what they call being too comfortable. We've settled into a routine, but it feels repetitive. About a year ago, Tom's work got busier, and he started going on business trips, which never happened before. Although he provides for us financially and I have a job too, I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. Even when he's home, our connection seems strained. Others might think we've fallen out of love, but that's not the end of the story for us. This was just how our marriage worked. Even though every day felt the same, it was normal for us. Then one day, I came home from work to find my husband there, much earlier than usual. He usually never gets home before 10 p.m., but it was only 7 p.m. "Welcome home," he said, which was odd. So I asked him why he was home so early. He explained that his dad had been in an accident at work and was in the hospital. Apparently, his dad's car was hit by another car running a red light, leaving him paralyzed in both legs and one arm. Thankfully, his life wasn't in danger, but he'd have to use a wheelchair from now on. It was devastating news. My father-in-law, who loved outdoor activities like hiking and fishing, now had to rely on a wheelchair. He was always so helpful and treated me like his own daughter. Seeing him in this condition was heartbreaking. My husband's mom called him about the accident since he works for a different company than his dad. He's frustrated because he can't visit his dad right away. And I'm saddened by the fact that such a kind man ended up in a wheelchair because of an accident. But there was no time to be shocked. He looked me in the eyes and said, "Linda, Mom has a favor to ask about Dad." "What did she ask?" I replied. "She's asking if we can help take care of him together." "Take care of Dad together?"
Yeah.
"Mom's getting older, and it might be tough for her to do it alone. So she thinks it would be a big help if we both chip in." "So, basically, we have to move to your parents' house?" "Yeah, we'll have to. There's enough space for us there. Is that okay?" I couldn't answer. I cared a lot about my father-in-law, and I loved him. But agreeing to suddenly take on caregiving, something I'd never done before, was difficult. "I know it's new and tough," my husband said, holding my hand. "But if we leave it all to Mom, she might struggle too. Please, Linda, I know it's hard. But if we work together, we can do it." "It's going to be hard," I replied. "But I have a job too. I want you to quit your job and focus on caring for Dad with Mom. I'll take care of the expenses." "Quit my job?" I was taken aback.
Yes.
"I'll support you financially. Dad in his wheelchair, and Mom need your help." Seeing him so desperate, it was hard to refuse. So I quit my job, as he suggested, and started caring for my father-in-law. As time passed, one evening during dinner, my husband suddenly stood up. "I decided to take over Dad's company and become the president," he announced. My father-in-law was surprised but inwardly pleased. With tears in his eyes, he said, "Tom, I can't believe you'd do this. You always said you wouldn't work at my company." I was just embarrassed, but in this condition, I can't leave the company alone, can I? "Thank you," my father-in-law said, relieved. I was worried about the future of the company. I'm glad to leave it in trusted hands. But when Tom said, "I want to leave it to you," my father-in-law replied, "I knew you'd say yes. I'll do my best as a son. Please create a good working environment for my employees." "Of course," Tom assured him. After this exchange, Tom became the president of his father's company, while his father-in-law took on the role of chairman. Despite the typical image of a chairman being associated with retirement, there was still a lot of work to be done. However, my father-in-law left the actual operation of the company in Tom's hands. Within just 2 months of taking over as president, Tom started coming home late every night. Initially, I thought it was because he was still getting used to the job, but it seemed strange to work overtime consistently for 2 months. Another reason for my suspicions arose from the smell Tom had when he returned home. One night, unable to sleep, I heard him come in. He smelled of soap, which was unusual. When I questioned him, he became defensive, blaming his late nights on taking over his father's business. But as he hurried to bed, I couldn't shake off my unease. His evasiveness only heightened my suspicions. When I tried to ask him more questions, he became irritated, brushing off my concerns. Something didn't add up, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. As I arrived home, tired, I didn't mean to accuse him of anything. I was just curious. But Tom took it as an accusation of cheating. He argued that he's working hard every day so I can live comfortably. I understood his point, but I still felt uneasy. When I tried to apologize, he ignored me and went upstairs, deliberately making noise in the bedroom. He turned away from me and started using his smartphone. The next day, my mother-in-law, who had been informed by Tom about our argument, approached me angrily. She accused me of suspecting Tom of cheating just because he works hard for me. I tried to explain that I was only curious, but she insisted it was wrong to make Tom uncomfortable. She left, leaving all the housework for me to do. My mother-in-law doesn't think highly of me. Despite pretending to share the housework, in reality, I do everything, including taking care of my father-in-law. During the day, she finds excuses to go out, returning only in the evening. My father-in-law, mostly staying in his room, doesn't realize how often she's gone. She's even warned me not to say anything odd to my father-in-law and Tom, further straining our relationship. I felt the unfairness of my self-centered mother-in-law, but all I could do was silently carry on with the housework and caregiving. However, the reason I could endure such a life was mainly because of my father-in-law. Every time I helped him, he genuinely apologized. "Linda, I'm sorry. I'm sure you'd hate taking care of an old man like me," he'd say. "Don't worry about it. I think of you as my real father. I'm happy to help," I'd reply. "I'm glad that Tom married someone like you, Linda. Despite all the trouble I've caused you with my care, you still speak so kindly to me. I'm a lucky man," he'd express gratefully. "I'm also happy to have such a kind person as my father-in-law," I'd assure him. Despite feeling uncomfortable due to my husband and mother-in-law's behavior, I kept going because of my father-in-law's kindness. My routine involved helping my father-in-law before bed and then turning off the lights. One day, when I finished and returned to the living room, my usually absent husband was there, talking to my mother-in-law. Something felt off, and my fears were confirmed when my mother-in-law dropped a bombshell. "Good timing, Linda. We need to talk. Please take care of James here for the rest of his life," she said. Confused, I asked what she meant. But before I could fully grasp the situation, my husband handed me divorce papers. "I have someone else, and we're leaving to live with her. You can deal with the divorce papers," he said coldly. Stunned and devastated, I collapsed as they packed their bags and left, ignoring my tears. Alone in the silent living room, tears streamed down my cheeks. Then my father-in-law appeared in his wheelchair. "Linda, what happened?" "I heard noise and came to see," he asked, concerned. I struggled to find words, my heart heavy with pain and confusion. I confided in my father-in-law about what had happened earlier. His expression grew stern as he listened, and by the end, his eyes burned with determination. Suddenly, he stood up, his voice commanding like never before. "Let's fight back," he said firmly. Concerned, I glanced at his legs, but he apologized for keeping it a secret and revealed that he could walk. Assuring me not to worry, he declared he was ready. From a drawer, he produced a large envelope, revealing its contents, evidence of my husband's infidelity and even my mother-in-law's. Shocked, I learned that since becoming president, Tom left work exactly on time every day, despite returning home well after midnight. Suspicious, my father-in-law had hired a private investigator to look into him, uncovering his affair. Additionally, my mother-in-law's daytime absences were also investigated, leading to the discovery of her own infidelity. Astonishingly, She seemed aware of Tom's affair, as evidenced by photos of them together. My father-in-law had recently obtained this evidence and debated when to tell me. "It's not right to say this," he began, "but I believe it's time to confront them. With my father-in-law's support, I couldn't stand it like this any longer. I want to fight back." "Leave the rest to me," he assured me, promptly making a call to someone from the company. As a result, my husband was ousted from his position as president. Following my father-in-law's advice, I filed for divorce and demanded division of property from Tom through my lawyer. About a week later, Tom visited my parents-in-law's house. Outraged, he confronted me and my father-in-law, demanding to know why his infidelity led to him losing his presidency. My father-in-law didn't hold back, blaming him for neglecting his care duties and causing me suffering. He scolded Tom, forbidding him from ever entering the house again. Desperate, Tom begged me to persuade my father-in-law to forgive him and withdraw the divorce. He promised to end his affair and drop the demand for division of property. His selfishness disappointed me. Despite everything, he only thought of himself. To withdraw the divorce? I repeated, incredulous. At this point, what are you even saying? I never asked for that. I'm glad to be divorced from a scumbag like you. I'm not going back to you ever again, I asserted firmly. Of course. Why should I have to be married to a scumbag like you? Your divorce and being ousted as president are your own doing. It's the seeds you sowed. Confused and desperate, Tom tried to backtrack, claiming the divorce papers were just a threat. I thought so, I retorted. You, your mother, your mistress, I hope you all go to hell together. Keep holding on to your spoiled ideas of getting help from someone. I chased him out of the front door, slamming it shut. From outside, I could hear Tom's wails, begging for forgiveness, but neither my father-in-law nor I responded. Learning that Tom was ousted as president, his mistress promptly threw both him and his mother out of the house. With nowhere else to go, they were forced to live in a cheap motel for a few days. Losing their jobs depleted their savings, and they struggled to make ends meet, eventually going into debt. Working as day laborers, they couldn't afford rent and lived from day to day. Meanwhile, I continued to care for my father-in-law in his house. "You're welcome to stay here as long as you like," he told me after the divorce. Grateful for his kindness, I decided to continue living with him. Recently, he started going to a senior daycare center, allowing me to work while he's out. Despite potential challenges in the future, I'm determined to do everything I can for him. "I'm glad I could tell you," I replied to my